This baby does not cry. Her eyes show how special she is. This day she painted the table dirty. Surprisingly, she was writing her name, Matilda. Not only did her mother not notice her specialness, she was angry. She just left her in the sink. She said that having a baby was better than growing tomatoes. In fact, Matilda was born to parents who had an accidental pregnancy. This is not the first time she has been disliked. She was thrown in the trunk when she was born. She was even left in the car. When she was growing up, her father would just work. Her mother would look beautiful. She didn't remember having a daughter. Matilda was completely neglected. Even her naughty brother, Jack, bullied her, so they didn't even notice. Matilda has a different kind of intelligence and hands-on ability. Even Matilda herself only learned later that she had the ability to manipulate objects from space. Matilda was able to take care of herself at the age of 2. When she was hungry, she made her own food, which was delicate and delicious. She lived a more ritualistic life than I did as an adult. At the age of 4, she learned to read. After reading all the magazines in the house, Matilda asked her father for a gift for the first time. She asked him for a new book. However, her father insisted that reading was useless, so Matilda decided to gain knowledge on her own. She found out the address of the library and went there alone to read more books than her age, with Matilda going back and forth without stopping. The librarian was also attracted to this young girl who was not yet tall enough to be at the counter. With his help, Matilda obtained a library card so that she could save time on the road. The books gave Matilda a temporary psychological relief. Occasionally, she would look enviously at the image of parents playing with their children. It was such an ordinary image that she never had. She didn't even have friends, even though she had reached school age. For her father, Matilda's role was to sign for the mail, and the irony is that her parents didn't even remember her age. Matilda was left alone in her room, shedding tears of helplessness. That day, her father came home smiling. He called his brother Jack to help him calculate the profits and to quiz Jack, faced with a huge amount of calculations. While Jack was confused, Matilda, who was listening, quickly worked out the answer. However, her cleverness was not appreciated. Father thought she had peeked at the note. Matilda was told that if someone was bad, they should be educated. This made Matilda feel that children can also punish their parents. While her father was sleeping, she secretly poured bleach into the hair oil. Hearing her father's screams of misery as he was tricked, Matilda smiled with satisfaction. When she found out that her father had converted his old car into a new one by swapping parts and selling it for hard cash, Matilda immediately and righteously stopped him. But her father was unconcerned. He also seriously taught Jack to change the mileage with a drill. Matilda could only protest with her actions. She put glue in her father's hat. He loses face at a fancy restaurant and a ring of hair that was already thinning. The disgraced father emphasizes status in the family. He orders everyone to watch TV shows. Matilda reads a book by herself. Angry, her father tore the book out of her hands. Matilda's head is forcibly turned towards the TV. Matilda was distressed by the boring TV program. She concentrated so hard she wanted to destroy the TV, and then the TV really exploded. At this point, Matilda suspected that she could manipulate objects with her mind. The family panicked and handled the TV. Matilda was not suspected at all. On the same day, my father sells his old car. The customer happens to be the principal of a school. When the father learned of the school's philosophy, Matilda was immediately sent in as a hot potato. It was a very dilapidated school. With the company of her peers, Matilda smiled happily for the first time. However, when the principal appeared, she realized the horror of the school. The school's philosophy is to educate children with sticks. Because the principal was not satisfied with the girl's braids, he threw her over the fence in the form of a lead ball and threw her over the fence. This is the kind of school, and even parents send their children there. Fortunately, Matilda's teacher, Honey, was gentle and kind, soothed the children's young hearts. Soon Matilda's first lesson, Honey asked what 2 times 4 equals. The students answered correctly. What about 2 times 9? The students answered easily. Mr. Haney was very happy. Suddenly, she raised the level of difficulty and asked how to multiply 13 by 379. Matilda in the corner answered without even thinking about it. The teacher was surprised. The students were surprised. The teacher immediately put on the glasses to calculate the equation quickly. correctly. The teacher was surprised and happy. The answer was really 4,927, not the same as the parents' neglect. Mr. Honey was very concerned about Matilda. This was the first time Matilda's talent was noticed. From then on, Matilda was very fond of Mr. Haney, and Mr. Haney visited Matilda's home. The teacher thought that Matilda's talent would be able to go to college in a few years if she was taught privately, but Matilda's parents didn't think that studying was important at all. They even mocked Honey. "You see? We are so rich without education, and you can only be a teacher." Honey was shocked by such a distorted view of the world. Smart kids don't get enough love and care. This made Honey care more about Matilda. That day the car that the principal had bought from his father broke down a lot, so he took out all his anger on Matilda, put her in a confinement cell full of nails. When Honey learned of the situation, she secretly rescued Matilda, but when he saw the principal carrying the child and slamming him to the ground, Honey was too angry to say anything. After the principal drank the water with the chameleon by mistake, she was angry and questioned the children. Matilda took the opportunity to control the chameleon and made it jump on the principal. The principal was terrified. With no evidence, she had to leave in a panic. After this time, Matilda opened her heart to Honey. She wanted to show her powers to Haney again, but could not do so, although unsuccessful. But Mr. Haney became Matilda's best friend. Honey also shared her secret with Matilda. The principal was actually Honey's aunt. After the death of both of Honey's parents, the principal not only took Honey's property, she was also kicked out of the mansion. Honey had to rent a small house next door. She left all her treasured possessions in that house. Matilda wanted to help Honey. She encouraged Honey to go to the house and get everything back. The two of them came to the house after the principal left, but the principal came back. The two of them worked with each other to get the attention of the principal. They were able to attract the attention of the principal. They escaped from the mansion without any danger. After this failure, Honey was worried that Matilda would come back. He asked her to promise never to come back here. To reassure Haney, Matilda agreed, but she tried her best to train her superpowers. As her powers increased, she was able to perform some simple operations, move milk through the air, and then easily control the spoon to bring the cereal into her mouth. Matilda, the Supergirl, was happy, but to punish the bad principal she was not strong enough, until the mind controlled the switch, controlling everything in the room. She spins in circles with joy. Cards were flying above her head. She felt her life had reached its peak. It was time. While the moon was dark and the wind was high, Matilda had to go out and do something big. She went to the mansion. She was going to poke fun at the principal who was practicing his javelin. First, she used her mind to get Mr. Haney's doll. Then she set the clock to midnight several times. And then, by controlling the switch, so that the lights in the house will go on and off. To create the atmosphere of the middle of the night cannot be hidden. The principal was scared to death. He thought that Sadako was coming. Matilda removed the portrait of the principal from the wall and burned it. Then replaced it with the portrait of Honey's father. The principal was so frightened that he fled the mansion. Matilda was satisfied and left. Matilda left her hairband at the scene. This led the principal to discover the clues. The next day, the principal confronted her with the red hairband. Still arrogant, Honey mustered up the courage to defend the child. Matilda also intensified the punishment of the principal, but the white night window in the classroom opened and closed. The classroom became brighter and darker. The chalk seemed to have a moment. On the blackboard, in the tone of Honey's father, warned the principal to return Honey's property. The blackboard eraser then gave the principal a lecture. The frightened principal continued to treat the children with violence. Matilda secretly protects her classmates. The principal slammed right out the door. When she got up in a mess, groups of children were throwing food at her until she was expelled from the school. The principal was never seen again. Honey became the new principal. The children fell in love with the school. After Haney moved into the mansion again, Matilda became a regular visitor. The two of them talked about everything, more like a real mother and daughter. Then Matilda took advantage of her parents' move away. She wanted Haney to adopt her. The parents also felt that they never understood Matilda, so they did the only thing that made sense for Matilda. They agreed to let Honey adopt her. With Honey by her side, Matilda learned that life was full of fun. She had a happy childhood. They played together, working together, playing together. The best love is to be with each other.